Now let me talk about how the AI is horny. Welcome to Wow If True, the podcast of your wildest memes.
We're your one-stop internet culture shop, here to dissect what's going viral, why we care, and how this might affect our real human lives. I'm so tired, Isabel.
And I'm a teenage exocolonist, Amanda. I've been playing that game too much. Anyone could be famous on the internet, so why not us?
So, we're really coming from two different, perspectives today, huh?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, I've just been playing. I'm tired because I stayed up late playing video games, and you're tired because you had a weird experience that involved being on a bike cab listening to Numa Numa last night.
Yes, that was one of the many weird experiences that I had last night. I had kind of a day yesterday. It was a fun day, but it was kind of a day. I'm not actually going to get into this.
We're not going to talk about Isabel's personal life, but I had an interesting week in terms of as far as the banter goes. I went to PAX Unplugged last weekend, which was very fun.
So, paint us a word picture of what happens at PAX Unplugged.
Well, Allison was there. Hi, Allison. Most of what happens is a lot of nerds are walking around. Some of them are in cosplay. Some of them are not. All of them are playing Magic the Gathering.
That last bit really, so it's basically identical to my real human life.
Yes.
I'm actually kind of curious about this, but how many people at PAX are doing cosplay versus normal conventions? Because I know that PAX is very much games focused, compared to general nerd culture. Or am I wrong?
I think there was definitely more people cosplaying at PAX Unplugged than VidCon. And also, so PAX Unplugged is a video game conference, but for the unplugged version of it, they only do tabletop games, hence being unplugged.
So, the real core nerd shit.
Yes.
So, I was at a party over Thanksgiving. This is the party that happens every year over Thanksgiving for 11 years, where we just play video games in my friend's basement. And in one of the rooms, at the beginning of the party, people were playing, Magic. And in the other room, we were playing D&D. And it was just a real, Wizards of the Coast heavy experience.
Damn. Play another game.
Honestly, that's we should. We won't. I feel like this is really making my social life sound extremely nerdy, and yeah.
I mean, it kind of is. But, yeah, it was fun because I did a Games and Feelings live show with former podcast guest and former person who pretended to be Isabel on the podcast, Eric Silver, our Canva Warlock. And yeah, it was fun. It is on the Games and Feelings feed currently. I think I had the best experience of my life during that podcast because I did a Squirtle impression. And this room full of 80 people clapped.
Okay, well, you have to do it now.
Squirtle! It was better last week because I still am kind of recovering from when I was sick last episode. I'm not 100% back yet. I'm not actively sick, but I'm it's just winter. Everybody's really gross and full of snot. But yeah, so you can listen to that now on the Games and Feelings podcast feed. It is a good show. And so Multitude was there, our buddies, and I think one of the best things that happened at PAX was that, I was just kind of, hanging out by the Multitude table a lot, because I was I'm overwhelmed by the scope of this conference, and I'm just going to sit here with my friends. And somebody told Amanda Multitude, as opposed to me, Amanda Wow If True, this is Amanda Multitude, someone was "You're Blorbo from my ears." I was so happy.
What did Amanda say to that?
I think she was just oh, ha ha ha. She just kind of went with it.
Yeah. I mean, what else do you say to that? That's good.
Yeah, well, because a lot of people that were fans of their stuff were coming up to them oh my god, I had no idea what you looked like, but I know your voice. This is so funny, which is pretty normal because people listen to their audio content. And it's kind of jarring when even for me as somebody who consumes their content, the weekend of PAX Unplugged Like, I listen to a lot of podcasts all the time, and that weekend I was like, I can't listen to any multitude podcast because it'll be weird to hear their voice, like, when I'm not with them, and then hear their voice in person in, like, an hour.
Yeah, that does feel like a weird experience to have. Sometimes do you think that, like, the people, like, damn, I had something funny to say and it's gone now, and, you know, if that's not the experience of podcasting, I don't know what is.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, PAX was fun. I got a stress ball shaped like a D20, and that was great. And I've had a weird week of like going to events that are relevant for talking about on the podcast, but are you familiar with Depths of Wikipedia?
No, tell me what this is.
So Depths of Wikipedia is a meme page, essentially, on like Twitter, TikTok, you name it. And it's this girl, Annie Rauwerda, who she's like 23, and it makes me like question my life choices. I'm like, damn, she's killing it, and she's 3 years younger than me. What am I doing? But
well, you have a podcast, so you have that going for you. Like, let's not get it twisted.
I know, of course. But so she is doing a run of live shows for her meme page, which is just a very bizarre concept. Like, how do you turn a meme page into like a comedy variety show? But so I went to her show on Thursday, and it was fantastic. Like, genuinely, like, I was having like a really weird week, just kind of like when you're on like week 4 of being vaguely sick and it's winter and you're like writing about Elon Musk and just everything is like falling on you. And I almost didn't go because I was just like, I'm so tired and like depressed. And then this lifted me out of my depression. Step aside, Zoloft.
How did she turn like a meme page into a live show?
It seems like she's somebody that has a background in comedy or theater. I would not be surprised if she was like a theater kid because she was very engaging on stage. But basically what she did was like, the opening was just her giving kind of like a PowerPoint comedy thing about how cool Wikipedia is and all of the weird shit on Wikipedia. But then she did a lot of like audience participation where like there was a Wikipedia page about the Pringle Ringle.
What is that? Okay.
Which is a ring made out of Pringles.
Okay.
And so during the show, she just like invited like an audience member on stage and was like, make the Pringle Ringle. And so as she's doing the show, there's just a random man sitting at a table in the corner building a Pringle Ringle.
That's really good.
And he did build it. But then she had a lot of like very bizarre guests from like local Philly lore. And so like, one of them was that there was some guy who made a Craigslist post, like, recently that was, like, looking for poets who are also WWE fans to collaborate on a project.
That's so... You know, okay, I can see the appeal
and
here.
she had that guy come up and, like, do a WWE voice dramatic reading of the Wikipedia "We Need Your Money" pledge thing. Two more. I'm gonna keep selling this. Another thing, which I posted this on Twitter and it went like mini viral. By that I mean like 2,000 likes, just because the Depths of Wikipedia person retweeted it. But so she hired a local Philadelphia like traditional bagpipe player.
Sorry, what?
Yes. And there was a Wikipedia page that said list of non-traditional bagpipe usage.
Okay.
And one of the things on the list was not a comedy show.
Uh-huh.
So because we were at a comedy show, she was like, well, this is going to be a non-traditional bagpipe usage. So basically, she is simply calling somebody on stage to do bagpipes and in front of a projection that says list of non-traditional bagpipe usage.
You know what this kind of reminds me of, in a weird way? There's been all this, like, cutout poetry on Tumblr by this one person using, like, Wikipedia articles.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I can't even describe it right now because it's very much literally like it will just take like it's like very like found footage of poetry, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Where they will like
Ontrov.
Yeah. Exactly. Where it's like they will like cut out big portions of like different articles to stitch together like a poem. And it will like it honestly ends up being really beautiful most of the time.
Yeah.
Because it's very much it feels like you're pulling together a bunch of disparate elements, but I feel like I don't know, I feel like all of this stuff like taps into the humanity's inner urge to like read a weird Wikipedia page.
Yeah. Can't believe that Tumblr invented erasure poetry, a thing that has been happening for like centuries.
Yeah, no, it's I didn't want to call it erasure poetry because it's like I don't know, when I picture Wikipedia erasure poetry, I picture you take out the Wikipedia page and you black out most of it, whereas this guy's like, taking little screenshots, which feels like a physical difference even though it's like fundamentally the same thing.
It reminds me of there's a YouTube video that I think it's like Bring Me to Life by Evanescence, but all the lyrics are screenshots of titles of AO3 things.
Oh, yeah, that's good.
Yeah, also the guy upstairs won't stop walking.
Have you considered killing him? This is not legal advice.
I haven't because I don't do crimes at FBI, but oh my god, this guy makes so much noise and I hear him yelling at like midnight and I'm like, dude, I hate you. I will haunt your family. Anyway.
There's an easy solution here and it's to kill him.
I mean,
it'll solve one of your problems, it will cause others.
Yeah, I don't know if I can like morally do that. But the last thing I want to say about the Wikipedia thing, I know I've been talking about this for a while, but this is really important. She had the guy who ate 40 rotisserie chickens on as a guest.
Holy shit! Yo!
It was incredible.
What was he there to do?
She did like a brief interview with him that was just kind of like, are you okay? And like, this guy is like, he like was not good on stage, but in a way that was very funny. Like, he was just kind of like, yeah, I ate chickens. And then she did a dramatic reading of, I think it was the 1904 Olympic men's marathon Wikipedia page, where apparently, like, the 1904 men's marathon was just a complete shit show where they didn't give anybody water throughout the marathon.
Oh, God.
So people were, like, low-key, like, going to die. And there was one guy who, like, ran into an orchard to, like, eat peaches and then ran back. And so she was just, like, reading these crazy stories about the people in the marathon and having him act them out. Like, as, like, this is an endurance sport, similar to what we talked on the podcast. Mm-hmm. And he just kind of did a bad job acting it out, but it was, like, funny.
Yeah. At first when you were saying this, I was kind of surprised that 40 Chickens guy doesn't have, like, stage presence. And then I thought about it, and then I was like, no, actually, like, eating 40 rotisserie, like, eating a chicken doesn't require you to have any sort of stage presence.
Yeah. Wait, I think I, like, wrote down quotes of what he said because I'm a journalist and I have a podcast. He was asked, were you nervous to eat in front of an audience? And he said, I was nervous for them.
Wait, that's good, actually. I've retract anything I've said that's negative about his stage presence.
Yeah. And then she asked him what his next challenge is, and he said, to just keep living my goddamn life.
Okay, honestly, same. This is all so far very relatable.
Yeah. I'm like, I think that's what people like about the chicken guy, is that he's literally just a random guy who just did a very weird thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that was beautiful. We should transition into the meat of the show, which is that we have...
Boo, I see what you did there.
Wait, I don't even know what I did there. Tell me what I did there.
Chicken, eating meat of the show.
Okay, good. Because as I was saying that, I was like, damn, that's a really weird phrase, and, like, I might personally be editing this one, and I'm just gonna have to relive that, but,
So I'm actually the one reliving it, and it sounds still bad on second listen. Can confirm. Okay, back to the pod.
So, the AI overlords are coming for us.
I mean, we've been new.
Yeah, I mean, to preface, none of this technology is new, but I do think it is interesting that within the last literal like week on the internet, there have been 2 huge AI things going viral. One of which is Lensa AI, which is, if you see everybody on Instagram posting like AI generated artistic selfies, that's Lensa AI. And then ChatGPT, which is an AI chatbot that is so sophisticated that it can like correct your Python code for you.
Mm-hmm. You know what I think is interesting about GPT is that I feel like the Lensa AI stuff and a lot of the previous AI discourse has been around, oh God, artists are going to get put out of work by AI. And then at first the ChatGPT stuff was about like, oh God, writers. But then it started doing code. And now it's like, LOL, the software engineers.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's very funny for people in STEM to have to contend with the issues we have to contend with, but I don't know. I mean, as a writer, I don't feel threatened by ChatGPT. I feel like it can write like a 6th grade level essay. And thankfully, I am not employed by Yahoo to write 6th grade level things.
Mm-hmm. Well, so I've tested out, like, so this is interesting because people in like the writing community, especially like for some reason the specfic circles that I run in have been talking a lot about pseudo-write. And pseudo-write does actually a really good job of like creating text, like fiction text. But also there's been a whole like big discourse about this right now because apparently it's been scraping from AO3, or people have been like panicking about that. I don't quote me on whether it has or hasn't, but that's been the discourse for like a last week or so, I think. But it's also interesting because people are very divided on how to use AI and whether it's something that people can utilize or something that's coming for like your job.
Yeah.
Because there's people out there who write like a lot of indie stuff that like requires like a pretty like intense release schedule that isn't super thought intensive and doesn't require super like hardcore like writing chops, if that makes sense. Like, no, it does take good writing chops because like writing something that's digestible is actually very hard, but like it doesn't matter if the stuff is a little bit similar, and then in that case using the AI to create stuff is useful. This is sort of like an open discourse that people have been having. Yeah. I don't really have a thought on it one way or another, other than I had a really good tweet that I posted an hour ago that I'm going to read on this podcast because that's what podcasting is.
Amazing. I haven't seen the tweet, so this is great. Content in real time.
Yo, content in real time. See, this is what you're not getting from writing done by an AI, is the tweets read to you in real time.
Exactly.
Okay, me pitching human-made art and writing to billionaires. Well, yeah, AI could do it, but it wouldn't suffer. Don't you want your art to come with this, like a soupçon of human suffering?
That's a great argument.
I kind of think I'm right.
You are right. Yeah, I guess so. With ChatGPT, as real WoW true heads will know, we first met...
Real Tregs will know.
Yes. We first met in a college class called Poetry in a Digital Culture. And this feels like something that we would have talked about in class if that class weren't like 2016 and AI wasn't as sophisticated in 2016. But like, there's a lot of potential for people to use AI as a tool in the creative process rather than like the creative thing itself. But like, I tried getting ChatGPT to write poetry and it didn't really work.
That kind of tracks.
Like, it only could write rhyming poems about like raindrops being beautiful.
Yo, but if you need those raindrop poems, ChatGPT has got your back.
Yeah, which I mean, like, this is better than a poem. I mean, I don't even know. I was gonna say this is better than a poem that a 3rd grader would write, but that's a lie. Because, like, kids are so creative, and kids don't give a fuck about, like, they don't have opinions about what poetry is supposed to be. They're just out here writing, like, the tiger broke out of his cage, he is free. Yes, and that's a fucking amazing poem. Yes, the tiger is free.
It's the tiger is out, actually. No, I'm sorry. I'm
Okay.
just being annoying because I know that somebody will say that if I don't say it.
Okay.
So you're welcome.
I mean,
that's gaslighting for you.
I feel like there's podcasts where people are like, ugh, I know I'm gonna get like 100 people emailing me about that, but like we don't have like 100 people that are going to email us.
No, it'll be 2 people in our Discord. But I'm saying it for them.
It'll be like one guy in our Discord, and I'm just happy that guy's listening to the podcast.
To clarify, we're not actually calling out like a specific guy in our Discord. If you're listening to this in a Discord, we mean this generally. We do not mean you specifically, unless you were planning on sending a message to the Discord being like, actually, in which case we did mean you.
Yes, but no, I think more people should listen to our podcast because we're not like, don't email me. If this podcast came out within 10 minutes, I'm sure I already have 1,000 emails.
What was that accent?
That was just like person who's full of themselves accent.
I mean, it made me laugh.
See, I can voice act now. That's what I learned at the Games and Feelings live show. Because the Squirtle impression came up because Eric and the other guest, Jeremy from Three Black Halflings, were doing impressions. And I was just kind of like, I'm not going to contribute to this because I don't have good impressions. I'm just going to let them like riff it out for like 30 seconds. And then Eric was like, Amanda, do a voice. And then I just had Squirtle.
That's a really good, that's a good comeback.
I know. I'm so full of myself now. Like, you don't know what it does to your ego when you do a Squirtle impression in front of a crowd of people and they clap.
I love this. I love that I think you should make this your, like, Twitter bio or something. I feel like this is, like, your new identity now.
Oh, yeah. Like, I'm so happy that, like, they recorded and published the live show because now I have audio evidence of people laughing at my Squirtle voice. And whenever I'm having a bad day, I'm just gonna listen to that episode of Games and Feelings.
I love this for you. Objectively, this is very funny.
Squirtle! Okay,
are
back
you done
to
yet?
AI ethics. I'm done now. I'm good. AI can't do that.
Can't do that for you.
But yeah. I've totally forgot where we were. I just kind of got into my ego fugue state.
See, an AI can't do that for you.
Yes.
No, unironically, I was thinking about this while we were talking earlier, and I was like kidding about the I want human suffering to be a part of the art that I consume thing. But I'm like kind of not kidding, because I was thinking about it and I'm like actually not that interested in reading or like consuming content that's created by AI with no human input.
Yeah.
Like, do you know what I mean? Where like the Lensa AI stuff and like any like sort of art that people are making is not interesting because of the fact that like of what it is. It's interesting because of the prompt that the person puts in and how the AI interprets it. So like there's like a human being in some stage of that, and I feel like a lot of, like, I don't know, this is me getting on my soapbox about how, like, art and, like, writing and stuff like that is just all part of the human desire to, like, gossip with each other constantly.
I love that.
Just to, like, communicate. I mean, I'm, like, right. Like, we're just here, like, all people do is fucking talk. That is another one of my writing hot takes. But, like, I wouldn't want to read, like, fiction that has no, like, meaning to it, if that makes sense. Or, like, I would feel weird about that. Like, I don't know why, but I would.
Yeah, I mean, sorry to, like, the only example I can think of is, like, kind of sad. Not to, like, be sad on the podcast. But, like, up until this year, I had never experienced, like, real grief. And I think if I were to write about death before having experienced that, it would be a lot less robust as if I wrote about it now. And I don't want to say, like, oh, you have to have bad things happen to you to be a good writer. But, like, I think that, like, having the experience of, like, somebody that you are close to suddenly dying in an unexpected way, like, changes the way that you think about death. And I think if I were to write about death before that happening, I would be kind of like an AI, because I would be like, yeah, I know from, like, reading books that, like, grief is a weird thing that people experience in, like, a non-linear way. But, like, I have a much better understanding of that having gone through it now.
Okay, so here's what we do. We torture the algorithm.
No.
This will not end badly.
We take the algorithm's friend and kill them.
We simply kill the algorithm's friend. Is this something that's possible?
But does the algorithm have friends?
Well, first we give the algorithm a friend. This is something that could definitely happen and is not definitely an impossibility. No, okay, I'm not trying to make light of what you're saying here. I just had a really good joke.
No, I mean, I just went, like, weirdly morbid on our comedy podcast, but, like...
No, because I think you're right, though, because, like...
Yeah.
Okay, see, because I'm gonna do the same thing now.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make it weird. I'm gonna make it dark.
Yeah.
Yeah, because, like, one of my uncles, like, died when I was, like, in, like, middle school, and it's, like, basically, it was, like, fucked up. He, like, just dropped dead.
Damn.
And, like... I'm talking about, like, as a joke because it's, like, it happened 14 years ago. So, but it kind of, like, broke my family in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Like, and it you know, like, I had known the guy. He was my mom's favorite brother. That was fucked up. And then all the, like, the reporting on, like, suicide I did.
Oh, yeah.
In college. Yeah. So I guess, like, shit doesn't need to happen to you for you to, like, create content. However, I think the meaningful thing about content is the fact... See, I'm calling content, that's disgusting. But, like, the meaningful thing about, like, art is that, like, people are coming to it with their, like, lived experiences.
Yeah.
And it is saying something about someone who actually existed.
Yeah.
That being said, like, is AI just a tool to do that? Like, that's, I guess, another question. Because we're making a lot of jokes about AI. But, like, you know, fundamentally, there is usually some guy at the other end putting in their prompt about... Minions and the Supreme Court. I'm thinking about this because Derek did that the other day.
Oh, that's amazing. Shout out to Derek. No, I mean, I think what's weird about AI is, like, as you mentioned with the AO3 thing, and apparently AIs know what the Omegaverse is now. That's fucked up, but...
Oh, no, I don't want them to know that. I don't want the machine to know about fucking.
Love this pivot from us talking about, like... terrible experiences in our lives to the Omegaverse.
Listen, comedy and tragedy are exactly the same thing, and I would argue that the Omegaverse is a tragedy for humankind.
Yeah, you know, the line between grief and comedy is so close, but the thing about AI is that obviously, like, it's not neutral, and that's how we get into a lot of conversations about, like, AI is racist because society is racist. And what is AI based on if not society? So then you see things like there are police departments that use, like, AI tools to predict crime, and those tools are racist and they racially profile people. And that's fucked up. But the reason why the AI racially profiles people is because people racially profile people, and that's fucked up. And I do think it is maybe easier for a human being to be like, I have these inherent racial biases because I live in a society, and I am going to actively unlearn them and actively try to, like, work against this thing that was taught to me. But AIs just get taught the thing, and they can't think about, like, let me unlearn these biases.
Right, because AI is just a process. Like, I feel like people... It's really interesting, I think, how people want to, like, personify basically every technology they work with, and you assume that something... I think to some extent when people talk about this sort of stuff, they assume, like, with sort of, like, an implicit, like, subconscious understanding that this is, like, a thing that has its own will, and, like, that's not how that works, obviously. It's, like, it's literally just, like, a series of processes, but because it mimics, like, human thought to some extent, people treat it a little bit like that. I don't know, like, I'm thinking about the way that people talk about the algorithm as if it has a will of its own.
Yeah. I'm also thinking about how, like, it's been a trope in, like, sci-fi literature for a really, really, really long time about, like, people falling in love with AI. And, like, there's, like, that weird movie Her, and even I remember as a kid talking to Smarter Child on AIM. Do you know Smarter Child?
I don't know Smarter Child. What's that?
Oh, it was just, like, an AIM bot that, like, you could talk to. You could have some pretty, like, for, like, the early 2000s, it was really good. But you could also play, like, Hangman with it. Like, it was just, like, a chat bot that I would talk to because I was bored and had no friends. But then, like, even then, people would kind of, as a joke, be like, hey, smarter child, are you my boyfriend? And he would be like, I am a robot and I'm not capable of love.
Damn. You know, I think it's funny that, like, the moment that people make, like, some sort of new sort of content creation or, like, some sort of new machine, someone's gonna try and get horny about it. Like, I feel like that's really just, like, that's really a hallmark of humanity right there.
Yeah, speaking of getting horny about it.
Oh no. This episode has done some twists and turns, huh?
Well, I think because we're humans and we are showing the depth of humanity, which is that a very normal thing that happens in life is I'm like, let me talk about a depressing thing. Now let me talk about how the AI is horny. But so the way that these programs work is that, like, Stable Diffusion is the machine learning system that powers Lensa AI. Lensa AI being the app that's making all of those, like, fantastical avatars that you're seeing everywhere. And so Lensa AI is using Stable Diffusion, and you're basically uploading like 10 to 15 images of yourself, and then it turns those images into like really fantastical avatars. And what some people have noticed was that even if the images of themselves were not particularly like sexual, they were getting some like big boob, low cut t-shirt images, and it's like, yo, what's happening? And then a colleague of mine, Haya Camps, did a test where he was like, if I Photoshop my face onto nudes, will it generate nudes of me? And it did.
Oh shit.
And it's like, that is a really easy way to make like deep fake, like revenge content of someone. And that's really dangerous and scary. And then he did do the right thing of going and talking to the Lensa AI people about this, and apparently they're working on making that like not a thing. But like, when we talk about deepfakes already, a lot of it is like you have to be really good at Photoshop to like make a convincing Photoshop of somebody's face on a nude model. But now you don't have to be good at Photoshop. You just have to be like a guy with a phone, and then you can make this content. And that's really scary. And what's also scary about this is that like a lot of the content that Stable Diffusion is trained on is simply just internet content. And a lot of the sexual content on the internet was not made in a consensual way. And it's really worrisome that like non-consensual images might be feeding these algorithms. And like, I've written a lot about AI porn actually, because I think that's just a really interesting ethical issue where it's like, how does this affect sex workers? And the sex workers I've talked to about this have been like, the reason why people pay sex workers is because they want like the experience of having like a relationship with somebody. And like an AI generated nude isn't that. But then like, it's really worrisome when people are like taking like you at your most vulnerable and using it to create new images, perhaps against your will. There is a website called Have I Been Trained, kind of like Have I Been Pwned, which shows you if your email was leaked in a data breach. But Have I Been Trained lets you reverse image search to see if your image is part of the Stable Diffusion dataset, which there's like billions of images, so like maybe. And then you can request it to be taken down. But like, this stuff is really scary. And also like, porn already has the problem that it's like a lot of this is like male gaze, like over sexualizing women in a way that is like abusive and gross. And then now that's what's feeding like people trying to make porn with AI. So it just kind of compounds societal biases in a way that is really scary.
Yeah, this sounds just overall like unset. See, me, a lawyer, there should probably be laws about this.
Yeah.
There probably are, and I just don't know about them. But also, probably it has to do with the fact that technology advances faster than legal stuff does, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, yeah, that's like all kind of horrifying. I don't love that.
Yeah. Although what I do love is that what's also really weird is that like my job is so weird because when I write about like there's a group called Unstable Diffusion that is working on fine-tuning Stable Diffusion to make porn, and I wrote about that. And part of that was like going into their Discord, and I'm just like at work, like at home, but like working at like 10 a.m. on a Tuesday, just like looking at porn. And it's just like, okay. Like, but it's also like, what's weird about this is like, are people really like aroused by just like, this is a naked person?
This is a really like,
because
okay,
it's like
I'm just saying that asking that question on our podcast is inviting a lot of weird answers.
Oh no, because it's just like
saying.
It's just very weird to be like scrolling through this like porn Discord at like 10 a.m. on a Tuesday and being like, I am looking at this so clinically, and like it's just very bizarre. I don't know.
Well, it is 10 a.m. on a Tuesday. Like, that's... I don't really have a ton to say about that other than your job is very weird.
Yeah.
And who is looking at porn at 10 a.m. on a Tuesday?
Me apparently writing about it.
Okay, here's my pitch. Everyone else who's there is also a journalist.
No, there's like so many people. There's like these Discords are wild, and then there's people just like there's people like requesting like porn of their furry persona, their fursona.
I respect that.
Which, I mean, yeah, like, sure, fine.
I will say that, like, I've been talking a lot of shit about this, but I've also gotten pretty, like, desensitized to just seeing, like, random pornography on my feed from, like, being on Tumblr for a decade.
No, yeah, I mean, I think that's the thing, is that it's, like, it's almost, like, it's only weird when you think, like, there was, for another piece I wrote, I was, like, on the phone with a sex worker who I was interviewing about this, and we were like looking at this website together and like analyzing it, and she's like, okay, do you see this one where it looks like they accidentally generated a third arm? And I'm like, oh yes, I do see that one. And like I'm just like on the phone with a sex worker very clinically like looking at AI porn and talking about like what did it get wrong about the bodies. And shout out to that person, she's amazing. Sex workers are the smartest people on the internet.
Send tweet. What I thought was really interesting that I saw floating around for a while was this, like, how to identify AI generated images from like real, like something that a human made, and it was all stuff like they will have the wrong number of teeth. Yeah. Their eyes will be a little bit weird. Like it was a whole list of stuff that almost made it sound like if it had not been just pictures of anime girls that you were trying to deal with the fae.
Oh my god. Yeah, no, that...
Like, I'm dead serious. It was very much like everything will be slightly off, and they will be unsettling to your view for a variety of reasons that you can't pinpoint unless you look at these specifics. And it was very much like, this feels like it's, like, the 1700s, and you're trying to, like, make sure, like, your child doesn't get fucking stolen, I don't know, man.
That's so
by
funny.
The fairies and replaced.
Damn, honestly, that's a story you should write.
I should write that story. Yeah. But I feel like someone has already written that story.
Well, but I don't know. I mean, I just think it's very funny that, like, there's a website, like, this person doesn't exist, and it creates, like, images of people that aren't people, and then a lot of, like, troll accounts on social media use images of fake people to make it look like they're real, but they're, like, a troll. And... yeah, and, like, the way that you figure out that stuff is, like, are they wearing earrings? The earrings, if so, probably look off. Are they wearing a hair clip? If so, like any kind of accessory just really, like, messes with it. Or if, like, their face is, like, too symmetrical.
Okay, so you know how technology will go from being a novelty to either, like, dissipating or becoming, like, a part of, like, the daily fabric of our lives? I feel like we're still in the novelty stage of all of this. And I'm, like, worried about when we get used to it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but I also think that there's a lot of AI that is in our daily lives that we don't think about as AI. Like algorithms and, like, social media moderation. A lot of it is AI.
Yeah, like, I think, like, I kind of think that science fiction did the world a disservice by assuming that, like, by doing a lot of content about how AI is, like, basically person but internet, when in fact the technology of, like, AI and, like, all, like, the machine learning shit is really just, it's math too.
Math 2. Two
Math
Math 2 Furious. Hades 2.
Hades too. Yeah, like, let's stop talking about AI. Let's talk about some human generated media. And by this I mean giving the bisexuals everything they want.
Yeah. I still have a lot to say about AI, but
Yeah, we can go back to AI, but I just want to say that Hades 2 is coming out, and I'm gonna be so weird about it.
yeah, also, like, they announced Hades 2 while I was at the Depths of Wikipedia show, and I got, like, 5 texts from 5 different people, like, Hades 2, and I was like, there's too much stimuli, like, I am breaking down, I can't handle all of this.
Hades 2 was like the final straw in your mental health.
I was just like, there's too much happening, and I'm stressed out about it, but I don't know. I mean, what I was going to ask was, like, as I mentioned very briefly at the top of the episode, I have basically spent the last, like, 24 hours, maybe, like, 18 of those hours playing I Was a Teenage Exocolonist, which I still don't know how I feel about the game. I'm still, like, I don't know. Is this a good game? Maybe. I'm having fun with it. I don't know if the themes are really coming through, but, like, I'm having a lot of fun playing it. And, like, is it different, like, when we talk about, like, the movie Her, where a guy falls in love with an AI? How different is that from, like, when a character dies in a video game and you're, like, legitimately upset about it?
No, I think you're creating a false dichotomy here. I'm gonna just fucking, like, English major you out here right now. Because, like, in Her, it's, like, it's not, like, the AI there is a character, the AI there is, like, within that universe, the AI is a person. Whereas, like, if you're just consuming media and, like, it's a dating sim or some shit, going in, like, these are boys just to get, like, attached to. Or, like, and it's, like, a fun thing, not, like, a actual relationship thing. Then again, someone did marry Miku. So,
Like, Hatsune Miku?
Hatsune Miku.
I feel like I knew this and I forgot, and now I'm like, damn, somebody married Miku. Wild.
Yeah. And that's actually, like, honestly, like, this was actually very, like, we talked about this, I think, because it's very, like, almost, like, cyberpunk dystopian, where the guy marries Miku, he has, like, a little machine that will show the Miku. Show the Miku. What the fuck am I talking about? I hate the future.
Show the Miku.
But then the company stopped doing service for the little device, so now he can't see his wife anymore.
No! That's so sad.
And, like, like, hey, what are we all doing here?
This does remind me of one of my very early internet experiences, which was, like, remember when Facebook pages were, like, before you could like a page, you could be a fan of something. Mm-hmm. And then there was a period of, like, weird Facebook when I was, like, in middle school that was, like, you're a fan of when you take a sip of water when you're really thirsty. Mm-hmm. Where it was, like, up until then, everything was, I'm a fan of Miley Cyrus. And then it was, like, I'm a fan of, like, this really niche thing that is, like, not something that feasibly should have a fan page, but now it does. And my friend Alana and I made a fan page called, quote, "If you love it so much, why don't you just marry it?" And it was about, like, the image was a person marrying the Eiffel Tower, and that page blew up. Like, we were a content farm before content farms were a thing. Like, we made so many fan pages, and we were like, one of these is going to take off. And sure enough, one of them did. And it's so funny to think about, like, doing weird Facebook in, like, 2008.
Yeah, I mean, like, so anyway, I do have a good joke here. And it's like, back in my day, the content farms were done by middle schoolers, child labor, and not by the algorithm.
Yeah, something that I found really interesting is that, like, so Yoel Roth, who was the head of trust and safety at Twitter for, like, a long time, and then for a couple weeks during the Elon Musk situation, and then he finally resigned after, like, he said in an interview that he had a line that had to be crossed, and the line was, "I'm not going to lie for Elon Musk," and that line was crossed. But he was saying that, like, something that you learn in Trust and Safety is that so much of bad stuff on the internet is simply just teenage boys.
That kind of tracks. Yeah.
Yeah. Wild. Honestly, okay, so Yoel Roth, shout out to that guy. When he was, like, being a mouthpiece for Elon in those few weeks, I was like, fuck this guy. And then he quit, and he's like, hey, bitches, I don't have an NDA, suck my dick. That's not what he said. He didn't say that, but he basically said that, but he didn't say that. But, like, there's an interview he did with Kara Swisher that's essentially like, I didn't sign an NDA, haha.
Sick. It's still funny to me that I saw Kara Swisher talk, and I just did not know who she was.
Oh, yeah, she's, like, a big deal. She's kind of controversial in some regards. I think she's a good journalist. I don't agree with her on everything, but I think that, like, when she does an interview, she asks really good questions. And I appreciate when she interviews big tech people, because it's like, she's not going to let them off the hook. But also, she's, like, I don't know, like, the co-host of one of her podcasts, I, like, cannot stand. He is just some guy who is so annoying. And you know who else is some guy who's so annoying with a podcast? Me.
Oh, but, like, you know, we could be different guys. You know, AI has said what sort of guys we could be.
Yes. And something that we asked ChatGPT to do is to write a script for the podcast, Wow If True. And so I think this is funny because there's different ways that it interprets this. Like, I write a script for the podcast, Wow If True. And it wrote a script about, like, this is a podcast about interesting and unbelievable stories that may or may not be true. And then it's, like, a script about the Loch Ness Monster. But then I write a script for Wow If True, a podcast about internet culture and how it affects our real lives. It is hosted by Amanda, a journalist, and Isabel, a lawyer. And then it gives us more specific things, and it's very funny. And so I think now that we've talked about, like, grief, porn, Twitter, the three big things, I think we should send off the episode with us pretending to be who AI thinks we are.
Let's fucking do it.
Welcome to Wow If True, the podcast where we explore internet culture and how it affects our real lives. I'm Amanda, a technology journalist, and I'm joined by my co-host Isabel, an extremely online lawyer.
Hey there, internet friends. Today we're going to be talking about a topic that's been on everyone's minds, the rise of deepfake technology. This is not a bit, this is what I came up with.
For those who don't know, deepfake technology refers to the use of artificial intelligence to create realistic-looking videos of people doing and saying things that they never actually said or did.
That's right, Amanda, and this technology is becoming increasingly sophisticated to the point where it's becoming increasingly difficult to distinguish a deepfake video from a real one.
This has raised a lot of concerns, especially when it comes to the potential for the misuse of this technology. For example, deepfake videos can be used to spread misinformation or to harass or blackmail individuals.
Absolutely, and as a lawyer, I have concerns about the legal implications of deepfake technology. For instance, who is responsible if a deepfake video is used to defame or harass someone?
That's a good question, Isabel. It's definitely an area where the law is still catching up to the technology.
That's true, and it's not just a legal issue, it's also a moral and ethical one. We need to consider the potential consequences of deepfake technology and think about how we can use it responsibly.
One potential solution is for tech companies to develop tools and technologies that can help identify and flag deepfake videos. But we also need to educate the public about this technology and how to spot a deepfake.
That's right. And it's also important for us to have open and honest discussions about the potential risks and benefits of deepfake technology and to consider the impact it could have on our lives and society as a whole.
And that's a wrap for today's episode of Wow If True. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time. I do want to say, like, so, okay, one commentary on that experience is nothing in there is really incorrect, although there are a lot of generated texts that have, like, factually incorrect information because there's a lot of factually incorrect information on the internet. But I think what this proves to the listeners is that you come to the real humans for us randomly being like, let me tell you about grief and porn.
Yeah, this script had neither grief, porn, nor Twitter, so, like, you know, it's useless.
Yeah. or random tangents about Hades 2. On that note...
If you like this episode, tell a friend. Word of mouth is how we grow. Thank you to all of our patrons, and shout out specifically to Zoe, Bray, Andre Thea, Brandt, Gabriel, Lada, Matt, Max, and Aaron's husband. If you want your name in the above or in our Twitter header, slide right into our Patreon on patreon.com/wowoftrue. Shout out to our audio editors.
It's literally just me today.
Graphic designer and Canva warlock Eric Silver, who made our logo, and Sam Reiser, who made our podcast music, and Tessa Farah, who is transcribing our episodes. We have transcriptions now. Incredible. You can find us on Twitter as @WowofTruePod and Instagram and Facebook as @WowofTrue. Had your 15 seconds of internet fame? Are you an AI? Slide right into her Twitter DMs and tell us all about it. And until next time, let's get weird on the internet.